Hello, my friend. Got a question for you, as always, and here it is. What have you prayed about, but God did not answer yet? What is the situation where you brought it before God and you heard silence? Now, for some people, it's an illness. You've prayed about it so much. It's for your mom or dad. They're old. It's for one of your children. It's for you. And you've been prayed over so often, and they've been prayed over so often, you've thought, I'm too tired. It's almost discouraging to get prayed over at this point. Or maybe it's a circumstance. It's your job. It's your finances. It's your marriage. And you're like, I wonder if God's ever going to hear this prayer. What happens when we're long suffering and it seems like God doesn't move? Well, it's exactly the dynamic of Acts chapter 9 at the end of the chapter. See, Acts 9 is very famous because it's where Paul gets converted. But that scene, Paul's conversion, is so dominant, sometimes we forget the last of the chapter where Peter does this thing I call the miraculous road trip. He's in and around all these cities where the Christians have been scattered to, and he's praying for people and encouraging people. And we learn a lot through these miracles about the nature of God and what to do when we ask God for something and he delays. Here's what it says, Acts chapter 9, verses 33 and 34. It says that Peter went to this city called Lydda, and there he found a man named Aeneas, who was paralyzed and bedridden for 8 years. 8 years, stuck in your bed, no Netflix. He goes on to say, Aeneas, Peter said to him, Jesus Christ heals you. Get up and roll up your mat. Immediately, Aeneas got up, and those who lived in Lydda and Sharon saw him and turned to the Lord. Aeneas was in bed for 8 years. I'm sure he prayed and prayed and prayed. And God seemed to delay and delay and delay. What do we learn about God? Well, here's 3 lessons. Healing is on the way. You see, everyone gets healed. Now, wait, before you think that I'm being word faith, positive confession, I really think this is biblical. Everyone that trusts Christ ends up getting healed. Some get healed on this side of death, and others get healed on that side of death. In fact, all of us, even if we're healed on this side, end up dying and then being healed on that side. The promise of the gospel is not that we'll go through easy things and it's all get happy and cheerfully. The promise of the gospel is that nothing will permanently harm us, that the harm we go through now will all be undone by the justice, sovereignty of God's kingdom in heaven. So whether it's here or there, I want to tell you, hang on, because healing is on its way. After 8 years, 10 years, 15, 50 years, I want to tell you, don't give up. Healing is on its way. The second thing here is God does the healing, we make the beds. It's so interesting here because Peter does exactly what Jesus does on 2 different occasions. John 5, Matthew 9, he heals a person who's been bedridden for a very long time. And in both cases, he says, get up and grab your bed. Now, there's a lot of things I could say about this. First of all, as a dad, I love bed making. When my kids don't make their bed, I'm afraid that they're going down a path that'll eventually end up into messy life, messy classes, no job, living in a van down by the river under a bridge. There's something important about the daily simple things. And don't take that for granted. Think about this guy. Hadn't made his own bed for 8 years. Hadn't made his own meals for 8 years. Hadn't cleaned his own house for 8 years. And then the healing finally arrives and he gets to do that simple task that others have been doing for him. You know your task? It ain't healing. You're not in charge of the supernatural. You don't get to decide when God brings the healing and when he doesn't. Guess what you need to do? Stay ready. And when the healing comes, you get ready to make some beds. Pick up a mat or 2. And here's my third thought, and we'll end with this. Overcoming long suffering has a powerful impact. You see, it says here that as soon as this man picked up his mat, 2 whole cities were impacted. In fact, we're going to learn later on in the chapter that it goes all the way 30 miles away to Joppa. I mean, this thing spreads like wildfire. It may be difficult to have patience and endure and keep praying, but I want to tell you, when God does show up, when the healing does come, when that day that you can get up out of your mat or your loved one can get up out of their mat happens, the impact is powerful, especially if you've been waiting patiently in faith for God. My friend, you might have a loved one, it might be you, and you're going through some long suffering. Long suffering is very difficult. But don't give up. Healing is on its way. And when it comes, man, rejoice in even the simplest of tasks and watch God spread his word. And you just remember, give him all the credit when it happens.